أصحاب السمو والمعالي، الحضور الكريم، تنعقد الآن جلسة معالي الدكتور عبد الحميد الدبيبة رئيس حكومة الوحدة الوطنية في ليبيا، يحاوره الإعلامي عمار تقي.
Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our next session is a conversation with His Excellency Dr. Abdel Hamid Dbeibeh, Prime Minister of the State of Libya. This session is moderated by Ammar Taqi. Please note that this session will be in Arabic. Kindly use your headsets for instant interpretation.
أسعد الله صباحكم جميعا. الحديث حول الشأن الليبي حديث ذو شجون، خصوصا إذا خذينا بعين الاعتبار الأوضاع الصعبة اللي تمر بها ليبيا من بعد 2011 تحديدا، حروب وصراعات ونزاعات كثيرة استمرت على مدى أكثر من 10 سنوات في ليبيا. هذا البلد اللي يستحق منا الكثير. وأيضا إذا أخذنا بعين الاعتبار مرحلة ما قبل 2011 أيضا الوضع في ليبيا كان صعب. لكن احنا إذا نبي نركز على الجوانب السلبية ممكن يستغرق منا الوقت طويل، لكن دائما هناك في أمور إيجابية وبوادر إيجابية في كل عمل رغم وجود صراع في ليبيا. تحديدا يمكن من سنة 2021 المشهد في ليبيا بدأ يتغير، بوادر إيجابية بدأت تظهر على السطح، بصيص أمل بدأ يظهر من ليبيا تحديدا من 2021. من خلال البحث خلال الأيام السابقة تحضيرا لهذه الجلسة، على سبيل المثال اكتشفت بعض الأمور كانت صدمة بالنسبة لي أنا شخصيا لما كنت أتحدث مع بعض الأصدقاء حول الشأن الليبي. يعني مثال بسيط جدا، بس هذا المثال البسيط يعكس إيش الوضع اليوم في ليبيا. في ليبيا في ملعب رئيسي اللي هو ملعب طرابلس الدولي. هذا الملعب الرئيسي في طرابلس من سنة 1968 لم يجرى لهذا الملعب أي مينتنس رئيسي ولا أي تطوير. من 1968 في آخر سنتين تم تطوير هذا الملعب بشكل كامل from A to Z، وافتتاحه راح يكون إن شاء الله في 1 مارس القادم. هذا يعتبر بصيص أمل. آخر مشروع لبناء مدارس جديدة في ليبيا كان سنة 92. من بعدها توقف بناء أي مدرسة جديدة في ليبيا. الآن تم الإعلان عن مشروع بناء مدارس جديدة 1500 مدرسة جديدة، وانتقال المدارس اللي موجودة في ليبيا المعروفة من يتابع الشأن الليبي، معروفة المدارس هناك باسم مدارس الصفيح، إلى مدارس حديثة. في يناير 2021 عدد السفارات من بعد 2011 إلى 2021 عدد السفارات اللي في ليبيا كانوا سفارتين فقط، حسب معلوماتي سفارتين فقط. من بعد فبراير 2021 حتى يوم أمس عدد السفارات اللي موجودة في ليبيا اليوم 41 سفارة، إضافة إلى مشاريع كثيرة بدأت استراتيجية بدأت في ليبيا. الخلاصة من هذه المقدمة المهمة أن هناك بصيص أمل جديد رغم الصراع المستمر في ليبيا. نتأمل إن شاء الله أن هذا الأمل يزداد أكثر في ظل الوضع الحالي. بعد هذه المقدمة تسمحوا لي أرحب باسمكم بضيفي في هذه الجلسة معالي دولة رئيس الحكومة حكومة الوحدة الوطنية في ليبيا المهندس عبد الحميد الدبيبة. صبحك الله بالخير.
أهلا وسهلا.
آسف مرة ثانية على الإطالة في المقدمة.
لا
كان مهم هذا الشرح في البداية.
يشرفني ذلك.
الله يسلمك.
كلام طيب.
في ظل هذا الصراع عجلة التنمية بدأت تسير الآن في ليبيا، والمفارقة أن الصراع اللي كان صراع سلاح في السابق الآن بدأ يتحول إلى صراع بناء، بس أيضا هناك تحديات موجودة أمامكم دولة الرئيس اليوم.
هو بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد، ورحب بكل المشاركين في هذا الاجتماع المهم الحقيقة اللي يلتقي فيه كل العالم لأجل الاستفادة من خبرات بعضهم البعض. ليبيا أعتقد أن كل شخص عربي إذا كان ما يعرف ليبيا يسمع عليها. نحن الله سبحانه وتعالى حبانا بكثير من النعم، سواء من الموقع، سواء من الأجواء، سواء من الثروات الطبيعية. لكن ليبيا منذ تاريخ نشأتها بعد الحروب العالمية الثانية والأولى أعتقد أنها مرت بتجارب صعبة. التجربة الوحيدة التي كانت فيها بعض الإضاءات وهي الملكية، ولم تدم طويلا، وحتى الديمقراطية التي يسعى إليها الليبيين لم تكن الحقيقة ذو قاعدة سليمة. انتخاب الرئيس وقوانين الانتخابات الرئاسية لم تحدث في ليبيا أبدا، ولأول مرة يحدث برلمان ليبي في 2012 بعد ثورة 17 فبراير. طبعا ليبيا مرت بمراحل انتكست فيها الاقتصاد، وانتكس فيها مراحل كانت تجربة للاشتراكية والشيوعية وتجارب الكتب الرنانة، تجارب شخصية، مراحل كانت مراحل صعبة للشعب الليبي. الاقتصاد الليبي بدون أي عنوان لا يعرف إلا مصلحته، وهذه الفترة من قبل اكتشاف النفط إلى 2011. وكانت هذه 2011 الحقيقة تجربة، أقصى تجربة أو أصعب تجربة يعيشها الشعب الليبي، وهو دخل في مراحل القتال في بعضه، وهذا لم يكن تاريخيا موجود إلا بعض اختلافات القبلية في بعض القبائل. ودخلنا في معركة طبعا قبل هذه العراك والاختلافات كانت حقيقة دخلنا في مشاريع وهمية. كنا اتهمنا بالإرهاب، اتهمنا بقصف الطائرات، اتهمنا بقتل الأبرياء في أماكن عدة في العالم، ووضع علينا خيمة، وهو خيمة أن نحن شعب إرهابي وشعب لسنا مثل باقي شعوب العالم. الشعب الليبي يريد الحياة، يريد المعيشة الصالحة، يريد أن يبني نفسه، يريد أن يعمل اقتصاد. أتت 17 فبراير ووزع السلاح بين الليبيين، وبدأ مرحلة أصعب من المراحل الأولى من خلال التجارب التي مر بها قبل 2011. وتقاتل الليبيين ودخلنا في معارك، ولله الحمد في بعد أتينا لحكومتنا كانت كثير من الدول، وكان في اجتماع في الأمم المتحدة تحت رعاية الأمم المتحدة، واخترنا كحكومة مؤقتة لتذهب بالليبيين إلى الانتخابات والقوانين الدستورية. عجزنا الحقيقة في الفترة الماضية على صناعة دستور، وهذا أكبر المشاكل التي نواجهها وما زلنا نواجهها. رأينا ليبيا سجية ميتة الحقيقة، حتى حتى التنفس كان فيها معدوم، لا مدارس ولا طرق هذه حلم في الجنوب أن نصين طريق. في باقي الدول الحقيقة المقارنة لنا بنت وتطورت نفسها في هذه المرحلة الصعبة، وعليه أتينا أولا أطلقنا، وهذه تجربة الحقيقة كانت تجربة صعبة لنا في أثناء ومباشرة بعد الخلاف وبعد الصراعات، أطلقنا مشروع وهو مشروع عودة الحياة. نريد عودة الأكسجين إلى الجسم الليبي، والحمد لله كما ذكرت تقدمنا في هذا المجال. حتى النفط كان موقوف، حتى سلعة النفط الرئيسية التي نمون بها حياتنا وقفت في مرحلة من المراحل، أو تم الحقيقة غصبا. شركات الطيران وقف. ليبيا أصبحت دولة موبوءة، ويشير إليها أن هي دولة فاشلة. أول شيء رأينا في المواطن الليبي الذي يحتاج إلى رعاية. أولاً في دخول المواطن، كل الشعب الليبي رجع للدولة واحتمي بها لأن هي الوحيدة التي تدفع مرتبات، وترك القطاع الخاص. اهتمينا بالقطاع الخاص، اهتمينا بالمدرسين، اهتمينا بالموظفين، زدنا قيمة المرتبات بشكل كبير جداً. اللي كان يدفع في الذخائر والقنابل والدبابات بدأنا نضعه في رصف أو إعادة صيانة الطرق، إعادة صيانة الهيكلية التعليمية. الكهرباء كان في ليبيا يقطع أو لا نرى الكهرباء في أكثر من 20 ساعة في اليوم. بعد هذا المشروع المدارس، الصحة كانت أكبر مشاكل في ليبيا، وهو القطاع الصحي.
الكهرباء دولتك كانت تقطع في اليوم مدة 10 سنوات 20 ساعة.
20 ساعة لمدة أكثر من 7-8 سنوات. تأتي مرات في 3-4 ساعات انقطاع، ولكن وصلت حتى 20 ساعة في اليوم.
والوضع اليوم؟
اليوم نحمد الله سبحانه وتعالى، لنا 1.5 سنة لم يقطع الكهرباء حتى دقيقة واحدة، ولله الحمد. هذا إنجاز. جئنا في وضع، حتى في وضع الكورونا الحقيقة، أول ما كلفنا بهذه المهمة الصعبة كانت الكورونا. وفي كثير من الليبيين اليوم يتكلمون على الفساد ملفات الفساد في الكورونا. لقينا حوالي أكثر من 4 مليار دينار مصروفات على الكورونا، ولم تأتي جرعة واحدة من الفاكسين في الكورونا. الحمد لله بمعية وبمعونة الشيخ محمد بن زايد الحقيقة، اللي جيته وطلبته وقال لي بالحرف الواحد احنا نصنع هذا الفاكسين
الروسي
ونقسمه بيننا وبينكم. وهذا كان أول مؤشر وأول بداية علاقتي مع الشيخ محمد شخصيا الحقيقة، وبارك الله فيه في هذا المحفل. طبعا المرحلة الأولى من أن ليبيا تعود إلى العالم، برنامج عودة الحياة في كل مناحي الحياة. في الخارجية بدأنا الشغل في عدة طرق. أتكلم مع أخوتنا العرب، الجامعة العربية، رغم التحديات ورغم الخلاف السياسي ورغم كل المشاكل التي تحدث، قفلنا أوداننا على كل المشاكل وذهبنا إلى الأمام لبحث مصلحة الشعب الليبي. اليوم الطيران يرجع طيران إلى طرابلس، ولله الحمد أكثر من ممكن 100 رحلة في الأسبوع لبعض الدول، كيف تركيا والإمارات وتونس والمغرب ومصر وإيطاليا اليوم ومالطا. السفارات كما قلنا كان فيه زوج سفراء بقوا في ليبيا في هذه الصراعات. اليوم ولله الحمد 42 سفير مقيمين في طرابلس ويتمتعوا بالأجواء الأمنية الرائعة في طرابلس. وندعو من هذا المنبر، أدعو من هذا المنبر. طبعا احنا ممكن مراحلنا ما زالت حتى نقيم مهرجان أو ملتقى كهذا الملتقى، ولكن أدعو كل المهتمين بليبيا ومهتمين بالوطن العربي أن يزورونا ويطلعوا علينا ويتفقدونا، لأن احنا قريب وصلنا إلى القاع، ولكن ولله الحمد من الله من الله أن شدينا على أزار بعضنا ورقينا بمعونة وبمعية أصحابنا وناسنا وأشقائنا في كل الدول واللي هي حريصة كانت على الليبيين.
هذه دعوة إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله
يكون لنا لقاء أيضا إن شاء الله في طرابلس في الوقت القريب إن شاء الله. أمس دولة الرئيس كان لك تصريح مهم، حاولت أني أصيغ عبارة أخرى يعني. تصريح مهم جدا ويتعلق في مسألة الدعوم تحديدا، وهذا التصريح البعض فسره بشكل سلبي والبعض لم يفهم مغزى هذا التصريح، والبعض فسر أن ليبيا أو الحكومة الليبية الحالية الآن مقبلة على مسألة رفع الدعوم في ليبيا. إذا ممكن توضح لنا أكثر هذه الجزئية بما تبقى لنا من وقت.
هو لابد أن ناخذ وقت لما نتكلم على ليبيا، لكن البرنامج واضح أنه هو محكم. طبعا الدعم في ليبيا من خلال التجارب الاشتراكية والشيوعية وما أدراك، دخلت في تجارب الحقيقة وهي دعم السلع ودعم المحروقات وكل شيء توفره لك الدولة، وأنت تبقى جامدا في بيتك تأكل وتشرب الأكل الذي يقرر لك فيه من هذه. وهذه ليبيا للحقيقة كثير من الإخوة في العالم لم يعرفها، ولكن كنا كذلك. الأكل، الخبز، المواد الغذائية، احنا ناكل في الباستا كثير كانت مدعومة، وتم إلغاء كل الدعم ولله الحمد من خلال دعم مرتبات الليبيين. طبعا فيه الدعم الكبير كان في الوقود بمجرد اكتشاف النفط في ليبيا وهو يدعم. الليتر الوقود أو البنزين في ليبيا اليوم 3 سنت من الدولار. أرخص دولة
في العالم
متوفر فيها في الوقود في العالم. ممكن في دولة يقال أنها كانت فنزويلا ولا كذا، ولكن إحنا كيف نرفع هذا الدعم وكيف نستبدله بدعم المواطن؟ طبعا هذه تجربة الحقيقة فكرنا فيها من الأول، لأن تم استغلال هذا الدعم لتهريب الوقود. يهرب أكثر من 50 أو 60% من هذا الوقود يهرب لدول الجوار، ويهرب حتى للدول الأوروبية المقابلة أو المحاذية لليبيا. أنا أقول لكم أنها الحقيقة في الجنوب الليبيين يشتروا بسعر العادي الدولار ويهرب. قررنا الحقيقة هو استبدال الدعم للوقود بدفع هذا الدعم مباشرة إلى جيوب الليبيين أو جيوب المواطن. طبعا ليبيا والليبيين تعودوا منذ فترة وهم يشترون اللتر البنزين ب3 سنت طبعا، واليوم سعر العالمي أو سعر الدولي يصل إلى 70 سنت. الفارق كبير جدا. طبعا فتحنا حوار مجتمعي باش نغيروا فكرة الليبيين أن هذا الدعم استبداله لصالح جيوبكم أفضل من استبداله أو من تهريبه لصالح المهربين والمخربين، وأنتم كل مرة تسمعوا فيه، وهذا أكبر امتحان ممكن نواجهوه كحكومة. وفتحنا حوار، وأعتقد أن بعون الله هذا الدعم الذي يدعمه الحكومة دعم كبير، احنا وصلنا ل 60 مليار دينار، حوالي 20 مليار دولار، وهذا مبلغ كبير جدا يذهب في الهواء.
طيب أنا باجي لي 59 ثانية، صارت 58 ثانية الحين. موضوع مهم جدا، أي تنمية أي ازدهار يحتاج استقرار سياسي.
نعم.
وأمس كان لك أيضا تصريح على قناة سكاي نيوز عربية تحدثت فيه عن أن هذه آخر حكومة انتقالية في ليبيا، وأن المرحلة القادمة يجب أن تشهد انتخابات. خارطة الطريق في نصف دقيقة كيف ستكون في ليبيا؟
نصف دقيقة حقيقة نستأذنهم، ممكن نزيدوا نصف ثانية أو دقيقة أخرى. طبعا احنا وجود حكومتنا من ثلاثي رئيس مجلس الرئاسي ورئيس الحكومة، وشكلنا الحكومة كان في اتفاق ليبيين كملتقى حوار، وأتينا كآخر حكومة انتقالية أو آخر حكومة ترانزاكشن government قبل الانتخابات. وكنا نأمل من مجلس النواب وأن يخرج الدستور اللي هو اعتمد من لجنة الدستور ويطرحه للاستفتاء. نحن طلبنا أن يطلعوا الدستور وأعطوه للناس للاستفتاء إذا كان رفض بنعم أو لا. طبعا الدستور لم يطرح للليبيين، قوانين انتخابية حقيقية لم تخرج من البرلمان. نحن نعلن من هذا المنبر أننا بعون الله سنكون آخر حكومة انتقالية، نريد قوانين عادلة وليست مفصلة تحت لأي فئة، ونريد دستور حقيقي يستفتي عليه الليبيين. ونحن سنكون أول حكومة تسلم لمن يختاره البرلمان الجديد ومن يختاره رئيسا للبلاد. نحن لسنا متشبتين بأي شيء، ولكن بعون الله سنضع أركان هذا الدستور الذي يحتاجه الليبيين، وبعون الله سنصل بليبيا باستقرارها بدعم كل أصدقائنا وأحبابنا وناسنا ودعم الشعب الليبي، أننا يوم من الأيام حتسمعون أن الانتخابات وفق دستور حقيقي معتمد ومبرمج وقابل للتنفيذ وللتطبيق من الشعب الليبي
بإذن الله تعالى. رئيس حكومة الوحدة الوطنية في ليبيا المهندس عبد الحميد دبيبة، كل الشكر لك، ونتمنى دائما الازدهار والاستقرار إلى ليبيا. كل الشكر لك وشكرا لكم جميعا لحضوركم،
وأنا أدعوكم مرة ثانية
إلى طرابلس إن شاء الله.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for this session.
أيها الحضور الكريم، سنستأنف الجلسة التالية بعد قليل.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will resume our next session shortly.
أصحاب السمو والمعالي، الحضور الكريم، الجلسة التالية حوار مع نجم بوليوود ورائد الأعمال شاهرو خان يحاوره ريتشارد كويست من قناة CNN.
Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our next session is a conversation with Shah Rukh Khan, Bollywood celebrity and entrepreneur. This session is moderated by Richard Quest from CNN.
It's not often that I'm downright intimidated by the person I'm about to interview. Kristalina Georgieva, easy for lunch. But SRK is a legend, aren't you?
You're being very sweet, Richard. Like I told you, I'm not a legend. I'm Bond, James Bond. I told you that at the backstage. Yeah?
Say that again, go on. What's your name?
Bond, James Bond.
Would you like to play Bond?
I'd really wanted to, but I think I'm too short.
What about Bond Baddie?
Baddie, yes, of course. I'm brown enough.
If we look at your career, how many years?
Now, I think actively including television, 33 years now. I've been actively working as an actor.
But to have reached the level of stardom that you have reached, and for the length of time, is quite an achievement. It's more than that. It's a huge achievement. But it speaks to more than just, obviously, the raw talent, but it also speaks to perseverance, the ability to keep going, which is something that's so crucial.
I think it's, perseverance is, I think it happens to some people. You don't have any option but to persevere. So maybe when I was young, I lost my parents very early, and then you realize that, okay, there's no rewinding this, there's no coming back from death, and you have to continue, make the most of what you have. So I was kind of a youngish orphan, and I had to work my way through it. Or it could be just part of nature, it's the nature of the beast that you are just with dogged determination, you keep on working.
Where does that come from?
I don't know, I've always tried to analyze it, that, why do I do what I do? Why do I wake up in the morning and just start doing it all over again, even when it's... I think it taught me, the work that I do, making films, the result happens very suddenly. You think you've made the best of films, you think it's the nicest of stories to tell, you think the world is going to love it, and you wake up on a Friday morning and realize it's the biggest flop of your career. And you're
Which happened.
Which happens more often than not. Or sometimes you don't like a film and that becomes the biggest hit of your career. And you say, how did this happen? But what I realized, and I want to say this to everyone actually, and I say this to everyone who's working with me or people who know me, that on Thursday evening, because our films release on Fridays mostly, or Thursday evenings here in Dubai. So Thursday evening at home in Mumbai, I rinse myself with a 2-hour bath and rinse myself of the work that I've done. Because what happens...
Well, hang on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that bath.
It's a ritual, yeah.
Is it a ritual? I mean, do you put special oils and scents? Do you have bath salts? Do you prepare with candles?
I'm not telling you my secret. You come and take a bath with me. Easy. I'm an actor. I'll show you how to do it.
Should I take him up on his offer? You carry on, sir.
Okay. No, but honestly, I do because, I realized when you do a big hit film, it's done well and you're very happy and everybody's jumping around. Friday happens, Saturday happens, Sunday happens. And you realize this is a big blockbuster, but Monday I have to get back to work to make a better film. You made a flop film, Friday you're sad, Saturday you're crying, Sunday you're moping and you're not waking up from bed. Monday, you have to get back to work and start making a better film. So Mondays are for trying to make better films always. So you have to persevere.
Okay, but let me be crude. You don't need the money.
No, I need the money.
Oh, you do?
The bath oils are very expensive.
Fine. If you had to define the quintessential SRK film, what would it be?
I've said this before. I was telling you behind. I don't know when it happened, Richard, to be honest. I didn't realize it. I never wanted to be someone who's, like I say, peddling love or seller of dreams. I wanted to be an action guy with 8-packs and beat up people, be in a white vest, girl on my side with a Glock in my hand, and speak in baritone and things like that. But I never got the opportunity. I don't know. When I started off, suddenly everybody started to think of me as someone who's, promising hope, giving hope, and spreading love, like I spread my arms again and again. So I think my regular film would be a film that gives you hope, gives you goodness, gives you happiness, and at the end of it all, lots of good songs.
Yes, but you've also, there's a great YouTube video, 4 minutes of your best entrances.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of action in them.
Yeah, only entries, no exits. I just keep entering again and again. My kids get very, when I have 3 kids, and whenever that video plays, and I have to tell you a secret, we've compiled it from the office. I think it looks just very cool. It's not made by others. We've made it. So whenever a show like this happens, and if you allow me to show a video here, we'll show you me just entering some places and very dramatically and romantically. But my kids make a lot of fun of it. Whenever I get a little serious with them, they'll just look at me and say, "Oh my God, he's doing those entries from his video, SRK." So it does become a...
Do you want to give us an example?
Oh yeah, I can do that, I can do that.
Yeah, just,
you want to walk along?
With your permission, sir, we'll...
If it's okay, yeah.
Yeah, go on. Go on. Is there something you would not do? On screen?
On screen, I don't know. I wouldn't be... I'd like to give hope in my films. The stories that I tell, I hope they end with hope. I know I've done some really sad films also. I've done films which are tragedies. But somewhere down the line, I just hope that I can give hope in films. So I don't like to give hopeless cinema or hopeless stories, because I think in life and in businesses and in jobs and world, there's enough sadness.
So you're extremely well known here, obviously because of the Indian population that is here and elsewhere. But you like it here. You have a home. You are not a here today, gone tomorrow person for Dubai.
No. I spend a lot of time here. I have a beautiful house which has been given to me by Nakhil, and it's one of the nicest places in the world, because nobody troubles me. And His Excellency, the Prime Minister, also just told me that he stays next to it. So the next New Year party is with him. He's a good neighbor, but it's really nice. I really, really enjoy being in Dubai. I really love being here.
And you find the juxtaposition with going back to Mumbai?
No, this is very easy. It's just 2.5 hours away.
Right.
So I keep dropping in. We come with the kids, and there's so much to do here. I'm sounding like the tourist ambassador of Dubai suddenly, right?
Everybody asks about crossover, and I'm no different. Because the more I researched you, the more I wondered. I mean, all right, supposedly 2011 DiCaprio never happened. Supposedly, allegedly, Slumdog Millionaire you turned down, allegedly. Why hasn't the crossover taken place? I don't see why it should. You're a big enough name in your own genre, but why has crossover not taken place?
I've said this honestly, but nobody believes it. So I'm going to say it to you very, very honestly. Nobody's ever offered me any work, crossover, of substance. I may have had conversations with people. I know lots of lovely people from the West, from the English film industry, from the American film industry. But nobody's offered me any good work. I hear actors talk about, oh yes, I want to crossover, I want to take Indian cinema. I think I still have to learn how to be able to deliver to the audience that likes me. And, instead of spreading myself too thin, and then, yeah, of course, if you've not been offered a job, how do you take it? So really, I've never been offered a film in Hollywood or in England. Yes, Slumdog was there, now that you mention it, and I spent a lot of time with Mr. Boyle, he's very sweet. But I was doing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire on television. Successfully at that time, and I just felt in the story that was being told, the guy who was hosting was very mean. In the story that was being told, and I'm like, I'm here doing Slumdog Millionaire, and the guys who were producing the show wanted me to do the film. I just found it, this guy's, I was cheating and being dishonest as the host. So I just found that it's very strange that I'm being a host and I'm cheating in the film, so I explained to Mr. Boyle that I wouldn't like to do it, please. And they're way better actors than me, and I think Mr. Anil Kapoor did it, and he was fantastic as the host.
When the person's getting close to 1 million, or the top in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that moment, what do you feel?
Genuinely, when I was hosting it, I would hope they win it. I really, really hope they win it.
But I've done a quiz show myself, and there comes a point when you think, how close can I get to getting them to win it without...
Yeah.
Did you know what I mean?
I always did that, when I was, because there's so many people from different parts of the country, and I really want them to win, and yes, you do try to be a little helpful.
But you can't.
But you can't, because the producer keeps shouting in your ears, you've said enough, you can't talk about it. And unfortunately, the last 4 questions or the last 2 questions are extremely difficult, Suddenly they're thrown upon you, and you're like, oh my God, this person is not going to get the answer. And I feel really bad. And I try to think, I wish I had some hint, and I can't mislead the person by trying to give that hint, because I also mostly didn't know the answer.
So what is left that you have not done that you would like to do? And by that, I that's not a Hollywood question. That is a general, even within your own, within Indian films, within production, within what still remains on your list?
So, Richard, when I started off, I just wanted to survive. Be able to get a week's work or a month's work or a year's work and say, okay, my films should do well. But as years have gone past, I think my whole job has become more and more motivated towards bringing in new technology into Indian film industry. I want to end my career, which is far from ending right now. I have another good 35 years to go. I really, really want to make that film which is loved by the whole world, and then nobody on a big stage like this asks me, why haven't you crossed over? That film should cross me over. That's my dream. I'd want you to learn Hindi and Urdu and Arabic to be able to understand that film.
Did you go on a massive retreat of personal introspection between 2018 and 2023? You just had 2 or 3 films that were not as successful. Suddenly he disappears, and everybody thinks, oh, he's licking his wounds, he's feeling sorry for himself, whatever. And then he comes back in 23 with 3 blockbusters. What was going on in that interim period?
So you're very kind. Yes, I had massive flops, and they did very, very badly. And I was doing all of that. I was licking my wounds. I was not in... you know what I did?
Yeah.
For 4 years?
Go on.
I've never said this to anyone, though I've mentioned it, but today, here, I'll tell everyone. I learned how to make the best pizza in the world. That's what I did. Honest to God, I stopped listening to stories. I stopped wanting to tell stories. I found myself and made myself a small kitchen, and I started learning how to make pizzas. And I learned what you asked me right to begin with, perseverance. Because to get the perfect pizza, it takes millions of square pizzas before you're able to make it completely round. So I learned perseverance, and I will make the best pizza in the world.
Can you?
No. I'm working on it. Next 4 years, when you don't see me.
But was it a difficult moment when your wife and your family and everybody said, will you stop making pizza? go back to work? Was it difficult to know now is the time to go back?
Yeah, actually, there was always a toss-up. I was very glad my family didn't tell me, listen, your pizzas are better than your films, stop making films. So I was glad they turned around and said, no, as good as your pizza is, I think your films are better. They were very encouraging, especially my children, my team, some of them are sitting here, and they said, okay, what you're going to do is tell stories. And I had become indulgent. I'd started becoming too innovative. I was looking for perfection. And I started failing. I needed to look for excellent, I needed to be unique, but I needed to look at the audience, what they want, and I'd stopped hearing the crowds. I used to go where there are thousands and lakhs of people waving at me, but I wouldn't hear or feel what they wanted to see of me. I was going there and waving, and I'm saying, whatever I make, I'll be innovative. So I did a film about a vertically challenged guy. I did a film about a manic, psychopathic fan, and I'm like, no, people just like to see me giving hope and happiness and love, so let's get back to that.
And as a result, the movies that you came back to make, and there were 3 of them last year, were huge successes. Therefore, that introspection clearly worked. That clearly did the trick.
Yes, mashallah, I think it just helped me realize that whatever you do, you have to do for the people or your consumers or your audiences. And yeah, it also made me realize one very main thing, that don't forget to pray. You have to pray and you have to get back to work.
Sir, I'm going to leave you with one. I'm sorry, I've forgotten. What was your name again? Your name is?
Bond. James Bond.
He's available for the offers. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. Khudafis.
Thank you for this session.
الحضور الكريم، نستكمل باقي الجلسات في هذه القاعة ظهر هذا اليوم. إلى حين ذلك يمكنكم حضور الجلسات المنعقدة بالتوازي في القاعات المخصصة لها. شكرا لكم.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will resume our sessions in this hall this afternoon. In the meantime, you may attend other breakout sessions taking place at the dedicated halls. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here. I'm Naina Bajeko, I'm an executive editor at Time. I'm thrilled to welcome Sriram Krishnan, a general partner at Andreessen Horowitz, to join me today. Thanks for being here. Today, this fireside chat, we're going to hear from Sriram about his experiences and insights from working with two of the most influential CEOs in the world, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. I was wondering if you could start by telling us a little bit about your career trajectory, where you started and how you ended up working alongside these two people.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you everyone for showing up. I'll be the first to admit the title is a bit of a clickbait title to kind of get everybody into the room because there's some amazing speakers. But I'll tell you my story and why I want to talk about this. But quick version of my story. I grew up in India, in Chennai. For those of you who know India, and sort of a very working class upbringing. And computers and technology changed my life. I got into computers when I was a teenager, taught myself to write code. That led to a career in technology. And I've been very fortunate and lucky. In 2007, I joined Microsoft. I worked for Satya for a bunch of years in Seattle before he was CEO of Microsoft. And then I was at Facebook, now Meta, working for Mark Zuckerberg. And then I've had opportunity to kind of work with Elon multiple occasions, most recently or infamously during the takeover at Twitter and X. And currently, I am a general partner at Andreessen Horowitz. We are a large venture capital firm, and I do a bunch of fun, interesting stuff there, which we can talk about. But thank you. I think the reason why I wanted to kind of talk about this is when I was talking to the organizers about what might be interesting, I come from the world of startups, of entrepreneurship, of people who are just kind of trying to build things which kind of push the world forward. And I was trying to figure out what might be interesting to a lot of you who come from the world of government, from policy, who often have to work with entrepreneurs. And somebody had this amazing idea. They said, okay, one thing that could be interesting is lessons on how these companies are run. Okay, so let me ask you something, right? How many of you have heard of Elon Musk? Okay, great. Zuckerberg, yes, common. Now, I'm pretty sure with the moment I said that, you all had a point of view. Some of you loved them, hated them. With Zuckerberg, you've probably seen the movie or read the book. With Elon, you've probably seen on X. And what I've realized is when I talk to founders is two things. Number one is that they were really looking for stories and ideas of how to run their companies. And two is they had no idea how some of these world-famous leaders were in the day-to-day. How do they spend Monday mornings, right? How are they in a regular meeting? Because that is the bread and butter. So I'm, that's kind of things I wanted to talk about today. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving that kind of broader context. One of the things that I'm really interested in is the difference in kind of management and leadership styles. And I'm curious what your impressions were from leaving India and heading to somewhere with a very unique culture, in particular in the Bay Area. What struck you the most about what's different there?
Yeah, so I grew up in a very sort of traditional upbringing in India. I worked there for a short period of time in a kind of very traditional environment. And when I first went to Silicon Valley, it was honestly a huge culture shock because it operated so differently from where I had grown up. And for a lot of people here, when you hear, read, or meet folks from the technology ecosystem, maybe be it Silicon Valley, maybe elsewhere, it might seem so alien and so different. But what I've realized over the years is if you look at some of the great companies, and talking, Meta, Tesla, take your pick, they all have some very, very common attributes. And I've seen these across 3 or 4 different companies now. And maybe for those of you in the audience who are kind of wondering, okay, how can I apply them to my day job? A couple of these attributes. The first one is, if you look at Zuckerberg, Elon, all these CEOs, the first thing I would say is they don't delegate as much as they're very much into the details. And if I could be provocative, I would say delegation is overrated and micromanagement is underrated, right? And all the great CEOs I've met are always micromanagers. In fact, I have not met a single great CEO who's not. So what does it mean? Maybe I'll give you an example. When I was working with Zuckerberg in 2013, we had a time when we were going to miss our revenue numbers for the quarter, or we were on trajectory to. And what Zuck would do is he would have daily meetings where he would be in the details. And when I say the details, I'm not just talking about somebody will pull up a PowerPoint and make a presentation. No. He would be in the dashboards. You would get a message from him in the morning about why is this number doing that. He would look at every single pixel. He would know things better than the 22-year-old engineer who's working on it, right? And this was in 2013. My wife worked at Meta a couple of years ago, and she was telling me that he is still the exact same way today. She was in a meeting with him at 10 p.m. at night from where he was like, hey, that pixel is in the wrong place. And look, this is a guy who's worth, I think, $140 billion, and he's still obsessing over every single pixel for a company which has 70,000 people. Same with Elon, right? Like, I think for those of you who heard of Elon or know of Elon, you might think he spends a lot of time on Twitter, tweeting. He doesn't. When I was there with him when the Twitter acquisition happened, 95% of the meetings were with the junior most engineers, right? Think like your 25-year-old people, and he would be on the whiteboard, whiteboarding out diagrams and being in the details. And the point I'm trying to make is that, what I've seen with all these leaders is unless you are in the details, the finite details, you don't have mastery of the decision space. You don't actually often understand what is going on. So that's number one, right? So each of these people, right, and whether you may approve or disapprove, that's a different story. I'm telling you, they all are micromanagers. The second part of that is very connected. Each of these great companies have a tremendous focus on speed, right? And one quick test I will ask you this, and maybe a good question for you also, is if somebody in your organization, right, and whichever organization you may be, maybe you're in a government, maybe you're in a think tank, maybe you're in a company, if somebody says, let us have a follow-up meeting after this meeting to discuss this, what is the right period of time to have that follow-up meeting? Is it the same day? Is it in a couple of days? Is it in a week? When will somebody go set up the calendar? For example, for you folks, when will somebody set up the follow-up meeting?
Within a few days. I think we work, news is pretty fast moving.
That's great. Okay, that's actually great, because it turns out that speed is the number one often determinant of success and getting things done. So each one of these great companies, if some follow-up meetings usually tend to happen in a day or two. But it's kind of, there's no right or wrong answer. But what I've seen is the focus on the details and speed go a long way. Because what happens is often when you're building technology, you don't know what the right answer is, right? You don't know what Instagram is going to look like. You don't know what an algorithm is going to look like. You don't know the details. So when you have speed, your rate of learning, your rate of iteration improves. And if you go weeks, months, years, and you're doing this faster than your competition, right? You're learning every day. You're learning every couple of days. And your details, those things really compound over time. So those are kind of two patterns I've seen across every single great CEO.
I think the statement about micromanaging being actually good and not delegating is kind of a provocative one.
I'm trying to be spicy. I'm trying to wake everyone up.
So I guess one of the reactions people might have is feeling like that doesn't create a lot of space for people to be autonomous and develop into leaders in their own right. How do you think about that in terms of these CEOs and others when it comes to building a succession pipeline and cultivating who's going to run the company after them?
Well, the first point I will say is that if you look at the leadership of all these companies, they've been around for a very, very long time, and they've often gone on to become great CEOs in their own right. Like, for example, one of my good friends is Fiji Simo. She was, she kind of grew up the ranks from, being a line-level product manager to being head of the Blue app at Facebook. And she recently just became CEO of Instacart, and she took, which kind of a big grocery delivery shopping service in the US, and she just took it public. They went public, I think, last year. And so first I would say is there is a history of fantastic leadership. So that's one. So there's something which is keeping a lot of these people happy, right? I think the second thing is I find that people want to work in an environment where they're delivering results and things are happening, right? Like if you have smart young people, they don't want to waste their 20s, they don't want to waste their 30s, where there's like, okay, I'm going nowhere. They want to work in a place where momentum is happening. And if you can deliver that, that makes up for a lot of it, right? So you're absolutely right. Like, when you think micromanager, you often think somebody is looking over your shoulder who is like, messing with whatever you wanted and overturning decisions. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like you in an environment where you're aligned behind a mission, you have fantastic people to work with, and maybe that's not for everybody. You can go find something that's also perfect, and that seems to pull along some great people.
I think with both the leaders you've spoken about, they've been pretty adaptable to different technologies as there's been a lot of innovation. I know that you've worked on areas like crypto and AI. Have you seen, how have you seen leaders like Mark and Elon adapt to those?
So there's a good pattern and anti-pattern. I think one is what I've seen not great leaders do is often they will just trust middle management. They will trust other people to do their research, right? Which is great. But I think if you want to be at the very top tier, like for example, when Zuckerberg, when he left college in Harvard in 2004, the current boom of AI wasn't a thing. The current, boom of virtual reality, spatial computing wasn't a thing. So he obviously had to learn. And I think what I've seen pattern again is, number one is all these folks, and I like to think I do it in themselves. I know a lot of people here probably doing it. The first thing is they are themselves seeking out the experts, right? It is not common, it's not uncommon for Zuck to go send a cold email to some PhD student saying like, hey, I'm Mark Zuckerberg, I'd love to have coffee with you and kind of just understand what you're doing, and doing that again and again. So the first is they are themselves taking the time to learn something. And the second part, what they're very good at, is surrounding themselves with experts, right? And experts from various domains. So if you look at Zuck, like in 2012, 2013, Facebook did not have any muscles in virtual reality or hardware development. It was basically, some of you, maybe I'm old now, some of you may be old enough to remember this, but Facebook used to be made fun of as a social networking company, right? If you went back to 2010, 2011, people were like, there's a social network, who cares? Nobody makes a joke now. So they've had to learn and build these muscles. In every case, I think the key has been Mark, Elon, whoever they are, themselves getting into the details, right? Which means playing with the technology themselves. They're all technologists, so they write code themselves, they play with it themselves. Mark still checks in code to this day. They're surrounding themselves, creating chairs. I'll give you a great story about Facebook. When I was at Facebook, there used to be this kind of joke that you can tell how much Mark cared about your project based on your physical distance to him. Basically, what he would do is the teams he liked and he cared about, he would put them in tables around him. And the further out you were, he sort of trusted you to do your own thing, or maybe he didn't care about you, one of the two. But the point there was, there was a relentless focus on seeking out information themselves and learning. Now, this is different. I think some other CEOs are good, but not great. What they would do is they would defer to the experts, or they will say, look, I'm going to get a consultant, they're going to send me a great presentation, or I'm going to read some opinion piece. This is not what these folks are doing. They are seeking out first-hand information, first-hand people, building a model for themselves. The one part I will add to that is I think one of Zuck's real superpowers, not to kind of use Mark Lott as an example, is that I think he has, every day, he has little ego, and he wakes up and says, okay, based on what I know today and how the world is changing, right? Like, how do I kind of shape Meta's strategy? So, being able to learn, being able to kind of have a lack of ego and say, I'm going to change my opinion every single day. That's very powerful.
Both of these leaders run companies that are polarizing. They're both also
what? Really? Everyone loves them. Doesn't everyone love Elon and Zuck?
As individuals, they're polarizing, and their companies can definitely incite strong feelings about whether they have kind of undue influence over society, whether they're contributing to inequality. How have you seen them engage and respond to criticism? And is there something in how they deal with that as leaders that you want to comment on?
A couple of thoughts. I'll try and be spicy. I think the first thing is, if you want to accomplish great things, I think it's impossible without getting people mad at you. In fact, I would say, and I'm not talking about Zuck and Elon, it could be Palmer Luckey with Anduril, it could be Alex Karp, who I think was speaking here with Palantir. There are many, many, many examples. If you want to do something amazing, it is going to piss a lot of people off, if you pardon my language. And I think what is more important to figure out is what you want to accomplish, what is your mission, your vision, how do you kind of inspire and motivate the team around you. In fact, in some ways, sometimes having a polarizing mission is good because you want only the true believers. You don't want the person who is going to leave your team the first time there is some bad press or the first time something doesn't work, because the nature of these projects means that it's going to take a long time. There'll be a lot of failure, and it may or may not work, right? So you need people who are true believers, and polarizing is a great example. I'll also say the flip side. How many of you use, say, Slack or Teams or some project like that to collaborate in your workplace? A lot of you? Okay. I think one of the major risks modern CEOs have, and this is a friend of mine coined this phrase, is they CEO by Slack emoji. And what that means is they do the thing which is going to get them the most popular response to from their internal teams on Slack. Everyone gives them a thumbs up, or when they post about an X, everyone says this is amazing. The challenge with that is what you're trying to accomplish is not a popularity contest, right? And and if you do that, very often you find yourself in a world where, number one, you are trying to do things to keep your employees happy, right? Which may not be the same thing as delivering the results you want for whatever your organization you have. Second is a small set of your employees may be very vocal, and you may not be hearing from the vast majority of them who just want to do great work. So I have this phrase with a few friends of mine where it's like, don't manage by Slack. It's a dangerous path.
I'm curious if there's any lessons on a personal level you've taken from and how it's informed your work from working with Zuckerberg and Elon.
Yeah, for me, I was very lucky. Both my wife and I are very lucky. We're supposed to do this talk together, and so when I was with Elon in the Twitter takeover, I was trying to say, okay, if I was doing something like this someday, what do I learn from him? And I think I came away with a few things. The first one is that, like I said, focus on the details. Speed really matters. I would say I would add a couple more things. The simplicity is very powerful, right? Like if you can't make an idea, a concept super simple and keep drilling down until you get the simplest possible answer, there is always something wrong. I'll give you an example. So the first day when Elon took over Twitter, right, I was there and we were discussing. Elon was like, hey, I want to upload podcast videos on Twitter, which is now X, which is not possible, by the way, right? Like you just had Tucker, upload his interview with Putin over there. And he was like, why can't I upload a 60-minute video? And somebody was like, we don't know. And they were like, well, can we find how many minutes we can upload? And they were like, Twitter's limit is 10. Well, okay, that limit is 10, how much can I actually upload? Well, we called an engineer from the room and they said the limit is 42. Why is it 42? And you kind of keep going down, and it's always an organizational issue, some engineering issue, but it's somewhere in the middle, right? And there's never a good reason. And he just kept asking, like, why can't I upload more? And and that unlocked so many organizational questions about, like, well, did we make the right budget prioritization decision there? So I often find the push towards the simplest possible articulation and is very powerful, because if you can't get that simplicity where in your head I know exactly what that means, you're wrong. And I think if you look at all the the great CEOs, Elon, Zuck, we had Sam talk yesterday, they all are very, very good at keeping things very simple. So I think a litmus test for each of you as leaders, yourselves, or maybe you're choosing to work for someone, is how do I, what is the simplest possible form of this? And if it's not as simple, make it simple, or there's probably something wrong.
Thank you. Final question as we go into the next panel, which is focused on investments. I'm wondering if there's anything you can share for how you're thinking about this for the year ahead in your work in Andreessen Horowitz.
Well, thank you. So, so a couple of things. One, my wife and I personally do a podcast on entrepreneurship, on technology. Please Google me. You can follow it anywhere. I think my day job is I invest in entrepreneurs. It's a great job because I get to hang out with amazing people who tell me what they're building to change the world. I'm sure some of you are here in this room. And I just want everyone to know that we are living in a very, very exciting time, right? Like, and I think it's only happened a few times in our past, maybe in the 90s. Like, imagine you were in 1995, 96, and somebody told you, hey, the internet is going to happen, and it is going to change everything, right? Or maybe you were in 2007 and Steve Jobs launched the iPhone and you were like, this is going to change things. I believe we are living through one of these eras now, and we are all very, very lucky to kind of see something amazing happen. What it results in, your guess is as good as mine. But in terms of what I'm interested in, one, I spend a lot of my day job on crypto, on blockchains, on decentralized systems. Very quickly, I think the internet can really benefit from having decentralized applications where people are able to govern these systems at scale. I can go into a lot more detail. Second, obviously, AI. Unless you've been hiding, AI has kind of been the topic of the hour. I think one of the things about AI is even the last 6 to 8 months, what we sort of expected has dramatically changed. And I think that's going to keep happening. Next year's summit, if Sam shows up, is going to be very, very different. So I would say all of us should feel lucky. We live in a very, very exciting time, and I'm just kind of excited to kind of just see what amazing applications and companies people build.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much, Sriram.
Thank you so much for having me.
I can introduce the next one. Okay. This next panel is focused on global investment outlooks for 2024. And I'm thrilled to welcome on stage Div Takaria and Cyrus Sagari to join me. Oh, there you are, sorry. Hey. Thanks so much for being here today. We just talked to Sriram a little bit about this, but I'm wondering if maybe we could just start by taking a bit of a zoom out and talking about how generally you're feeling about the economic outlook for this year, especially as prominent investors. There's so much going on, especially in the last few years. I think it's been very turbulent. Excited to hear from experts today.
Sure. So if I look at the last, COVID gave an opportunity for a lot of people to buy really good businesses at great prices. I think a lot of, in the last 12 months, a lot of the money that was sitting on the sidelines has come in, and we can see the impact of that on the markets. I think the markets have been expecting that there will be a bunch of interest rate cuts this year. And I think they've been expecting that will continue for a long period of time. So the reality is that interest rates can never go back to what they were, which is zero or near zero, right? So I think the market is a little ahead of, which it generally is, of what the reality on the ground is. I am cautiously optimistic that we will have a soft landing, but I think because of the momentum that people have been seeing and because everybody has the fear of missing out, my concern would be that some sectors are seeing aggressive valuations again. And so I would basically, at least on the public side, ask folks to be a little careful on what to expect.
Is there anything you want to add there, Cyrus?
Well, I spend most of my time in early stage venture capital. And early stage venture capital is kind of linked but also dislocated from the general economy in many ways. But coming out of COVID, as kind of Div was articulating, we saw just ridiculous valuations that made no sense. And a lot of companies that should have never gotten funded got funded. And that created lack of discipline in the market, in the venture world, and reset new expectations for entrepreneurs and the whole entire ecosystem that, you have an idea, it's going to get funded, it's going to go. And it's quite the contrary now. In fact, really good companies are having a hard time getting funded now, ones that should be getting funded, because investors have become much more discerning in how they're allocating capital. One of my favorite quotes is, "Capital is a coward." And the cowardice went away during the COVID time. It became very brave because there was an abundance of it. But I think there's a rationality in terms of the way allocators are allocating capital in early stage venture. And then I'll shift over to many early stage venture related companies their customers are big companies, big corporations. And they've become much more guarded on signing on to new products and services. So the sales cycles are getting much harder. And so it's definitely a much more challenging environment from the early stage side. And now we're lucky that we're having this huge tailwind around AI. If that wasn't happening right now, like there wouldn't be a lot of bright spots around a lot of the sort of economic sort of things. So it's sort of balancing some of these other challenges, of which Div is one of the world experts in.
It is and it is not, right? Because if you look at some of the early stage AI companies, you're again seeing that lack of discipline where a 5-people team with an idea may get some insane valuation that has, I mean, when you look at the realities of what will happen, it doesn't make any sense. So I think...
you think there's some hype in the cycle then?
I think the hype in the cycle is fine because obviously it's a big topic. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it is a revolution in the sense that everything that we see is going to become a lot more efficient with the addition of AI. And the way I think of it is it's almost the difference between when none of us had personal computers and we did things by hand, and then everyone had personal computers and we got a whole lot more efficient. It didn't mean that the jobs went away. There are as many jobs or more jobs. It didn't mean that that there were calamities that were predicted that by science fiction authors that took place in any form. I think of it as efficiency tools in just about everything that we do. We'll get a lot more efficient. And as long as you look at it that way, the opportunity exists. But I think because of the nascent understanding that people have, and the hype cycles that get created around some businesses, in any of these cycles, if you look at .com 1, I think a lot of the Magnificent Seven, or all of it, came out of there. But at the same time, people lost a lot of money on a lot of businesses. The same thing's going to happen now because it is at least in platforms in AI, it is sort of a winner takes all, which means the top 3 or 4 companies will get all of the customers and all of the revenue, while the rest that can't scale to that, even if they might have better models, if they can't get the right scale, then they're going to be left behind. So there is going to be a lot of money that is going to find that efficiency, and some will do really well and a lot won't.
ChatGPT was launched at the end of November 2022. You started your latest company 11 months before that. What drew you to be thinking about AI already? How have you seen it change?
So my company is called AI.tech. So it's and I started that in January 2022, which was before AI became AI as a mass market thing in November with the launch of ChatGPT. I felt like we were at the cusp of being able to create efficiency tools that would significantly improve all systems and all of what we do in a big way, because in my previous company, we used a lot of machine learning. And so what we focus on is one part of AI, which we do more B2B stuff, because GPT or B2C or those transformation models cost significant amounts. I mean, and you can see that with Sam's comment around raising 7 trillion, which obviously is, it's to show that what he thinks is needed. Obviously not going to happen, but in some sense, it is, if you say 7 trillion, then it's a lot easier to raise 100 billion after that, right? And it doesn't seem like a lot. So it's a standard sales sort of a pitch around, hey, I want 7 trillion. Oh, only 100 billion? And that doesn't sound like crazy, right? But I think the opportunity to deploy a lot of that exists, and obviously some of these models and some of these platforms will require a lot of that money. But at the same time, I think as many as, obviously the platform opportunity is only 3 or 4 businesses, but the big opportunity for the rest is because every tool will incorporate a lot of these models, either from the platforms or other parts of it. The opportunity is in the long tail, right? Where you can, with much lower risk, basically be able to bet on businesses that will generate a lot of value. And there, the early movers have an advantage because the early movers will start getting market share as they customize using a lot of AI for specific industries, because then they can make those industries and those sectors a lot more efficient, and the more market share that they gain by customizing for that space, the larger, the harder it becomes to compete. So I think those kind of businesses would be much safer from an investor standpoint, where you can get a lot of upside for lower risk.
Speaking of different sectors and how AI interacts with them, Cyrus, a lot of your work focuses on mobility. I was wondering if you could talk about the connection there, how AI feeds into all of this.
It's not as obvious as it is as making pretty pictures with DALL-E for AI and ChatGPT with writing your homework assignments, but AI shows up in a lot of ways in mobility that's going to drastically really change the way we live our lives. And I'll probably give you the example that I am personally most excited about, which is humanoids. And so the work that Tesla is doing with Optimus, there's another company in California called Figure, Boston Dynamics, which is owned by Hyundai, there's another company called 1X, I believe in Sweden, if I'm not mistaken, that OpenAI has invested significantly into, where with the progress that's been made with OpenAI and other sort of big large language models and neural network teaching, you can teach these humanoid robots to do just about anything. And I think people are going to be shocked at how fast this shows up. I mean, I'm talking like this year, next year kind of stuff. And the way we were shocked with how ChatGPT showed up, so imagine that being manifested in the real world, in the physical world, to go pick this up and put it over there and not run into somebody. And so, I mean, you don't have to think very hard about what the possible consequences of that can be, from the labor markets to defense to, your imagination can be pretty big there.
So yes and no, right? Because if you look at the first dog that we saw as a video from Boston Dynamics, that was years ago.
Yeah.
Autonomous cars were supposed to show up years ago. I think most people, I mean, it is human to think that the future is here already. And so we always overestimate the short term and underestimate what will happen in 10 years. So I would say that in 10 years, we'll see some crazy stuff.
I'm willing to bet this time next year at this event,
yes,
we will be seeing things.
And I won't be surprised that we will see the robot that will do it.
Yeah.
I think that by the time that it gets to production, where it is mass market and it's actually being used, that is always a longer time frame than what people bet. And again, nothing wrong with that. It's look, it's important to show these things as early as possible, because then people can identify the possibilities and then figure out how they want to incorporate it as it comes. But a lot of the cool tech that we're seeing is being talked about now for a bit. We will start seeing parts of it come, but it will always be a lot slower to roll out than we imagine in the short term.
I want to have this talk again next year, and we can talk about what has, because I've seen a lot recently in the last few months that make me go, oh my God, this is happening real fast, much faster than I would have personally imagined it to be. And so can we
Yeah, the pace of progress in AI definitely.
Just put a pin in this.
I think we've got it recorded so we could play a little clip and see who's right next year.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
I agree.
What is the robot going to do next year?
We'll find out next year.
Okay.
But I think there's even just cleaning the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right. Like things that we don't necessarily want to do, that we have now these humanoid type robots that they're able to learn how to do that now without a whole lot of extra.
But your sense is in a year it could get to the point of it being cost effective to do those tasks?
Yeah, most certainly. Yeah, I mean, these aren't very expensive. Like the weight of them is only 100 some odd pounds, and the raw materials isn't that much, and it's this is 20, 30,000 bucks worth of stuff. And most of the cost is in the AI training data. And so having access to be able to train these things. And so there's some extraordinary, huge 100, 200, $500 million deals happening as we speak with startups in the space that I'm more hopeful that it's going to happen sooner than expected.
I'm definitely hopeful, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying from a timing standpoint, we always underestimate it.
You duly noted.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any risk of people being too focused on AI as the next frontier in all this? That there might be big things we're missing by talking too much about AI? Kind of other technologies, other innovations that haven't got as much attention?
I don't think so. I mean, given it clearly is the largest efficiency change that we're going to see, or that we've seen across the last few decades. So in that sense, we might get too focused on specific things like thinking of AI as ChatGPT, when obviously it's a lot larger, and it can be used across everything. But from a size perspective, okay, let me compare it with something. I always felt like we gave blockchain too much hype, and there was no real application. With AI, there is application in everything from day zero. So it's about building to it and getting there. And hence, from an opportunity size perspective, it's a much larger, and it is the largest opportunity as of right now from a tech standpoint, because it goes in everything.
You touched on defense very briefly. Is that something you could talk more about and how?
Yeah, defense is a really interesting topic. Now, do you have an iPhone?
Yes.
Okay, put it up real quick. Almost every single major technology in that iPhone right there was originally paid for by the US government. From the LCD screen originally, from the GPS satellite, from the digital camera. Most people don't know this. The original digital camera was developed for spy satellites to spy on Russia. And that ultimately allowed us to have Instagram, as you go forward. And anyways, I could just go on and on between the DARPA, DOE, and DOD over a long period of time. It created a lot of these technologies, primarily driven by war and the threat of war. And a lot of it can be attributed to the Cold War and Russia. Now, what we're seeing again between the Russia, China, US sort of multipolar world is you're seeing a huge influx of Western interest, capital, and focus around defense-related technologies. And I would offer that there is a silver lining in this pain of war, which is we have no idea what great things may come from the innovations that will be created. Just to give you an example, the KC-135, Boeing, the origination of Boeing, most of you probably flew here on a Boeing jet. Came because the United States government wanted a air-to-air refueler to fuel intercontinental bombers to drop bombs on Russia. And they've created the KC-135, which became the Boeing 707, which is the same exact tube as the 737 we're flying today.
No, I mean, I agree. The internet came out of a defense project, right? It was a DARPA.
The what?
The internet.
The internet.
Yep.
So let me put it another way. Retail investors do not have the ability to invest in technologies that will take forever to materialize. Governments and institutional investors and sovereign investors have a lot longer time horizon and risk profile and an ability to see as many things and distribute their investments across enough number of things that they can still get a return, but at the same time help all of tech progress. So in that sense, defense is always an important category because a lot of the tech that we see today and that we'll continue to see for the foreseeable future will come initially out of those kind of spends and those kind of budgets.
You mentioned the US government. Are there other countries or economies you think that are capable of?
I think all. I mean, obviously, Cyrus is from the US, so he thinks the US government, but all governments need tech and all governments have large budgets around it. And so whether it gets developed in the US or whether it gets developed in Western Europe or whether it gets developed in China or South Korea or wherever else, right, or India, the The idea is because because the market is large enough, and it's not just one country buying it all, that you can continue to invest and you can find investment dollars that can get a return across all of that budget.
One final question when we have a couple of minutes left. I know you're both very into aviation and flying. Is there anything you'd want to talk about for the year ahead, how you're thinking about that from an investment perspective as well as a personal one?
I'm just waiting for Jetsons to happen.
Okay, well, I can tell you it's happening, and I know you may be more skeptical timing-wise. So I sit on the board of a company called Pivotal, which is an electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle company, which has developed a vehicle that you can buy today. It can fly about 30, 40 miles, does not require a pilot's license to fly. It's fully electric. It costs you about $4 to fly. And there are about 400 companies in the world today that, $4 per flight. 400 companies in the world today are developing some sort of flying car. You're seeing one of them outside with Joby Aviation. And the way we should think about this Jetsons and flying cars is think about the different things that have wheels, from roller skates to trains, right? Like everything, all these wide range of use cases and technologies that it can use the third dimension. And because of all the converging exponential technologies, from electrification to automation to network optimization and comms links and additive manufacturing, you're seeing this big influx of new tech to bring the Jetsons alive today.
And so you're optimistic also from a climate perspective, it sounds like, given the electric side there?
Most certainly. I think I'll just give you a really interesting anecdote. Drone delivery. Okay, that's flying cars, but a much smaller version of it, right? So Walmart, the largest company in the world, has now announced service to 1.8 million consumers in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in partnership with Zipline and Wing. Now, people would typically go get their, whatever it is, a can of soup, or how would they get there right now? They get there in a car. 2,000-pound gas-burning vehicle, go to the store, pick it up, come back, as opposed to a 15-pound drone that consumes effectively no electricity. DoorDash has done 5 billion deliveries. Every one of those deliveries has been in their car or scooter, or whatever it may be. 90-ish% of them could be done by drone. So you think about how you can take things that are consuming petrol off the road and do it through the sky and do it electrically and do it clean and do it faster. That's pretty good.
I feel like you want to add one.
No, I was just going to say that I think from a climate perspective, I think all investments are moving towards being more friendly anyway. So I think we'll see a lot more of that.
That's great. A great note to end on. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
You.
Cyrus. I think we have to shake hands. Thank you.
Questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, the topic of our next session is Meritocracy in the Digital World, Talent Beyond the Borders, with Hatem Doedar, Group CEO of eAnd. This session is moderated by Becky Anderson from CNN.
Good to have you, Hatem. I'm bookending this morning's session. I started with Dr. Alex from Palantir, and I closed this morning's session before Prime Minister Modi joins us here in the plenary hall to discuss the work that you're doing at eAnd, a telecoms company which is very quickly developing into a giant tech co, and with it adopting the applications of AI at every level. We know that AI will revolutionize every industry, company, and aspect of society in the years ahead. That is the resounding message that we've heard here. Some of the panels here have been absolutely fascinating. I'm now thrilled that we have 15 minutes to really drill down on what you're doing at eAnd and how you're preparing for the incoming AI transformation. I say, how are you preparing? It is well underway. Just explain, let's lay the table, if we will.
So
briefly, what's going on?
Okay, so I think, like many companies, we see that AI is coming and it's reality. It's not anymore whether we're going to do it or not. And we have seen that happening over the past few years. I think AI came much more to the spotlight when ChatGPT came, and it became easy for anyone who doesn't have any experience to deal with AI, although AI was there already for at least in some form or the other over a couple of decades. So we've also seen that this will revolutionize the way technology works, and we realized that to grow our business, we need to go more from being a telecom company, which provides the connectivity, to becoming a technology company. And then we're able to harness all the technology, all the capabilities that we have in AI across the different verticals in the business. And to do that, we have done a lot of things inside the company and the structure of the company. And also, we are working on the title of the session, which is the talent, and how we can make sure that we have the right talent that will take us to 2030 and beyond.
Well, let's talk about that, because there's 4 things I want to talk about. How you are preparing your workforce to be ready for AI, not only to apply it, but to ensure that you are growing the business. 3 other areas that I think are very specifically AI related when it comes to eAnd. You've joined a global alliance with some leading global telecom operators, and I want to find out from you why it is that you think that's a global AI alliance, and why you think that makes sense to unlock new business and to accelerate growth. You're working with Microsoft and Meta. I want to explore on the cloud side what you're doing there. And finally, the immense need and utilization of data in what is this transformative AI world means that data centers very specifically are absolutely crucial. I want to find out from you about the work that's being done here. So let's just start then on how you are upskilling that workforce.
So the workforce is essential for any business, and AI is one of them. And we've worked on 2 main axes. One is the intake of new talent. So we have started 4 years ago a graduate AI program where we hire new graduates with top results from the university for 1 year to rotate in different departments, focusing on how AI can be developed in these departments, and at the same time working to take them through courses with some of the leading universities, including the MBZ AI University, to make sure that they have the right tool set. We have so far graduated 3 of these AI graduate intakes. It's about 100 people each year. And you can see the level of energy and excitement they bring, because this is, again, a generation that for them, AI is not something that is science fiction, but something that they can feel much more than some of the older generations like us. So it's great to have that new blood in the company. And at the same time, we are reskilling everyone from the top executives to middle management. We are doing a lot of courses inside the company, both physical courses and a lot of online education as well, to let everyone understand what are the possibilities that come behind AI, how can that apply in their jobs, and how can they move better. And we have to understand that with AI, you don't need to be a programmer. Coding is not just the essential thing to do in AI, because now with AI language models, exactly, it replaces coding. You still need to understand the logic and how it works, and that is, I think, easier to educate people on than coding itself.
So this is about upskilling the workforce to ensure that they have the required AI skills. This is also surely about ensuring that you have a skilled workforce that is not going to be concerned about losing their jobs to a transformative AI world going forward, correct?
Correct. Correct.
How concerned should people be about the loss of jobs going forward?
I think there is a period where AI becomes a trusted assistant. And as a trusted assistant, it will increase the productivity for a lot of people, but then it might impact some of the repetitive jobs where there's no decision making, that maybe people that collect data and just tabulate it. A lot of these jobs can be replaced by AI. So what we need to do is to make sure that these people get the learning to be able to evolve, get more into the decision making, into making sense of the data that's generated by AI, so that they can keep their job. So there is a period where there will be some impact on jobs, but I don't think it's now. And if we work now on skilling the people, I think we can avoid quite a bit of it.
Give me some tangible examples, if you will, of how EAND and this tech will improve your business, but also benefit the customers. I'd be remiss if I didn't get you just to explain that briefly.
So let's give an example. For example, let's give an example of an area, a public area, where you have CCTV, that security people sit in front of these CCTV to observe in case there is an accident, there is a mishap, there is a security concern. In the past, you have to rely on the connectivity to connect these cameras back to the center and building this center, but then you rely on the human factor that observe the cameras and decide if there is a problem. Now these models are improving more and more by AI, where the AI can analyze the pictures as they happen live and highlight things that maybe a human would not be able to see. So somebody moving with a bag leaves the bag somewhere and moves. You hear that in airports all around the world. If you see somebody leaving luggage, please report it. In the future, you don't need to rely on that, because the AI will be observing that now there is a piece of luggage that it was someone's hand and then it was left. So this will impact, in a way, the number of people that are observing the cameras, but you still need someone that sees the alarm and then decides who to alert and what to happen. So it will not entirely, AI becomes an intelligent assistant that augments the capability of human beings and improve their capabilities without fully replacing them. And of course, when we do this in the past, we used to, as a business, we were just providing the connectivity. But as we develop, we start providing the connectivity, the platform, and then the AI services that work behind it as well.
Talk to me about the Global AI Alliance, founded some 6 months ago with Deutsche Telekom, SK Telecom, and Singtel. What that means for you in terms of unlocking new business and accelerating growth. And we've only got 4 minutes left, so I'm going to get you off the back of that to talk about the work that you're doing with Microsoft and Meta, and the importance, if you will, of these data centers and your investment and engagement in those here.
So I'll try to connect all of them together. So to have an AI that really works, an intelligent AI, you need really huge data sets to teach the AI. So imagine the AI is like a human being. The more books, the more subjects and courses the human being takes, the more capable and intelligent they become. And that's exactly the same for these models we're developing. So through that Telco Alliance, we are teaching AI models how to be specifically useful in a telco environment, which means running better networks with better quality of service, better customer care, better prediction of customer demands. And with joining this alliance, we both developed the models, but also we have combined a much bigger data set that can teach these models how to become more intelligent.
This is about cooperation going forward, correct?
100%. And I think on AI, we all have ambitions, but there is no question that working together in collaboration is the way forward to be able to create that prosperity and that advantage of AI. The same thing with Microsoft and Meta. So for example, we are working on how to, with Microsoft, we're using a lot of the Azure cloud, how we can provide AI as a service on the Azure cloud using dedicated GPUs that we can use for our business, but we can also use for our customers. With Meta, we're working on how we can integrate some of the data from their sites like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and so on, to also teach the models and provide better service for our customers, how to use also the metaverse for education using virtual reality and augmented reality. So these are things we're working on as well.
I said I'd bookended this morning session by talking to the CEO of Palantir earlier on, and we touched on the issue of inclusivity and equity, how you ensure, or perhaps, we have to agree you don't, but I want to ask you, as a global player like E&, what are you doing to ensure that this transformation is both equitable and inclusive?
So I can tell you a great example of the inclusivity that we have is the graduate trainee program, AI trainee program that we have. Over 70% of the participants are females. So we have that. And also now we are trying to replicate these programs across our footprint to encourage also the people in the other markets where we operate to engage more with AI and be more involved. And of course, some of these AI applications will be crucial to help the developments in some of the markets we operate in Africa, for example. So these are all things that will also lead to prosperity, not only in our home market here, but in also everywhere we operate.
You talked a lot about the solutions that AI provides and the opportunities. Let's just close with whether there's anything specifically that keeps you awake at night. Where do you see the challenge? Is it the speed of change? Is it ensuring that the cohort that you have at E&, is fit for purpose? What is it? What is that one challenge that you'd want to highlight here?
I think it's a challenge that all of us are thinking about, which is how can we make sure that the data sets and the biases within AI are controlled in a way where AI is really a force for good and doesn't create any false information. And this is going to develop by time. I mean, we've seen that across different technologies. So we just need to understand that this is still, in a way, a nascent technology, has to be used with care until it develops to the point that all the data is robust enough and we can have the full dependability. And that's why I say, still on the short and medium term, we still need the human factor to be able to make the final decision in many of these applications.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We will leave the stage now and await our next guest.
Thank you very much.
Very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you for this session.
أيها الحضور الكريم، سنستأنف الجلسة التالية بعد قليل.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will resume our next session shortly.
أصحاب السمو والمعالي، الحضور الكريم، نستمع الآن لكلمة رئيسية لدولة ناريندرا.
Throughout history, our world has been shaped by visionaries who dared to dream beyond the confines of their time. But imagine a world where they continue to flourish and create with the tools we have today. How much more would we know if Al-Khwarizmi had access to a microprocessor? Where would we be if Ibn Sina took a look through a digital microscope? What would Albert Einstein accomplish with the benefits of machine learning? How far would Amelia Earhart dare to go with jet propulsion systems? They inspired us then, but who will inspire us now? Let's collaborate to define our destiny and shape the next chapter of human achievement. World Government Summit 2024. Join us in shaping the future. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, a small blue world shines with possibilities. On it, every challenge is an opportunity waiting to be harnessed. But it all begins with a vision, a shared dream of a brighter future. Do we dare to imagine the unthinkable for a better tomorrow? What will it take to create a brighter future for the next generations? Are we ready to unite for global growth? Can we transform the way we power our world? How do we reverse climate change and build a sustainable future? We have the tools and we have the talent. Let's collaborate to define our destiny and shape the prompts of tomorrow. World Government Summit 2024. Join us in shaping the future.
أيها الحضور الكريم، سنستأنف الجلسة التالية بعد قليل.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will resume our next session shortly.
أصحاب السمو والمعالي، الحضور الكريم، نستمع الآن لكلمة رئيسية لدولة ناريندرا مودي، رئيس وزراء جمهورية الهند، ضيف الشرف لهذه الدورة من القمة العالمية للحكومات. يرجى ملاحظة أن هذه الجلسة ستكون باللغة الهندية، يرجى استخدام السماعات للترجمة الفورية.
Your Highnesses, Excellencies, Ladies and Gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Right Honourable Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of the Republic of India, the guest of honour for this edition of the World Government Summit. Please note that this session will be in Hindi. Kindly use your headsets for instant interpretation.
Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, नमस्कार। वर्ल्ड गवर्नमेंट समिट में कीनोट एड्रेस देना मेरे लिए बहुत सम्मान की बात है और मुझे तो ये सौभाग्य दूसरी बार मिल रहा है। मैं हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद बिन राशिद जी का इस निमंत्रण और गर्मजोशी से भरे स्वागत के लिए बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं। मैं अपने ब्रदर हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद बिन जायद का भी आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। हाल के दिनों में मुझे उनसे कई बार मिलने का मौका मिला है। वो सिर्फ लीडर ऑफ विजन ही नहीं है, बल्कि लीडर ऑफ रिजॉल्व और लीडर ऑफ कमिटमेंट भी है। साथियों, वर्ल्ड गवर्नमेंट समिट दुनिया भर के थॉट लीडर्स को एक मंच पर लाने का एक बड़ा माध्यम बन चुकी है। इसमें हिज हाइनेस शेख मोहम्मद बिन राशिद की विजनरी लीडरशिप, उसका बहुत बड़ा रोल है। दुबई जिस प्रकार ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी, कॉमर्स और टेक्नोलॉजी का एपी सेंटर बन रहा है, ये बहुत बड़ी बात है। कोविड के दरमियान एक्सपो 2020 का आयोजन हो या फिर हाल में कोप 28 का आयोजन, ये दुबई स्टोरी के बेहतरीन उदाहरण है। मैं आपको इस समिट के लिए बधाई देता हूं, इसकी सफलता के लिए शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। साथियों, आज हम 21वीं सदी में हैं। एक तरफ दुनिया आधुनिकता की तरफ बढ़ रही है, तो पिछली सदी से चले आ रहे चैलेंजेस भी उतने ही व्यापक हो रहे हैं। फूड सिक्योरिटी हो, हेल्थ सिक्योरिटी हो, वाटर सिक्योरिटी हो, एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी हो, एजुकेशन हो, समाज को इंक्लूसिव बनाना हो, हर सरकार अपने नागरिकों के प्रति अनेक दायित्वों से बंधी हुई है। टेक्नोलॉजी हर प्रकार से, चाहे वो नेगेटिव हो या पॉजिटिव, एक की डिसरप्टर साबित हो रही है। टेररिज्म आए दिन एक नए स्वरूप के साथ मानवता के सामने नई चुनौती लेकर आ रहे हैं। क्लाइमेट से जुड़े चैलेंजेस भी समय के साथ और बड़े होते जा रहे हैं। एक तरफ डोमेस्टिक कंसर्न्स हैं, तो दूसरी तरफ इंटरनेशनल सिस्टम्स बिखरा हुआ नजर आता है। और इन सब के बीच हर सरकार के सामने अपनी प्रासंगिकता को बचाने का भी बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है। इन सवालों, इन चुनौतियां, इन स्थितियों के बीच वर्ल्ड गवर्नमेंट समिट का महत्व और बढ़ गया है। साथियों, आज हर सरकार के सामने सवाल है कि वो किस अप्रोच के साथ आगे बढ़े। मेरा मानना है आज विश्व को ऐसी सरकारों की जरूरत है जो इंक्लूसिव हो, जो सबको साथ लेकर चले। आज विश्व को ऐसी सरकारों की जरूरत है जो स्मार्ट हो, जो टेक्नोलॉजी को बड़े बदलाव का माध्यम बनाए। आज विश्व को ऐसी सरकारों की जरूरत है जो क्लीन हो, जो करप्शन से दूर हो, जो ट्रांसपेरेंट हो। आज विश्व को ऐसी सरकारों की जरूरत है जो ग्रीन हो, जो पर्यावरण से जुड़ी चुनौतियों को लेकर गंभीर हो। आज विश्व को आवश्यकता है ऐसी सरकारों की जो ईज ऑफ लिविंग, ईज ऑफ जस्टिस, ईज ऑफ मोबिलिटी, ईज ऑफ इनोवेशन और ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस को अपनी प्राथमिकता बनाकर चले। फ्रेंड्स, हेड ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट के तौर पर लगातार काम करते हुए मुझे 23 साल होने जा रहे हैं। मैंने 13 साल भारत के एक बड़े स्टेट गुजरात की सरकार में रहते हुए लोगों की सेवा की है और अब मुझे सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट में देशवासियों की सेवा करते हुए 10 साल होने जा रहे हैं। मैं मानता हूं कि सरकार का अभाव भी नहीं होना चाहिए और सरकार का दबाव भी नहीं होना चाहिए, बल्कि मैं तो ये मानता हूं कि लोगों की जिंदगी में सरकार का दखल कम से कम हो, ये सुनिश्चित करना भी सरकार का ही काम है। हम अक्सर कई एक्सपर्ट्स को सुनते हैं कि कोविड के बाद दुनिया भर में सरकारों पर भरोसा कम हुआ है, लेकिन भारत में हमने एकदम विपरीत अनुभव देखा। बीते वर्षों में भारत सरकार पर देश के लोगों का भरोसा और मजबूत हुआ है। लोगों को हमारी सरकार के इंटेंट और कमिटमेंट दोनों पर पूरा भरोसा है। ये कैसे हुआ? क्योंकि हमने गवर्नेंस में जन भावनाओं को प्राथमिकता दी है। हम देशवासियों की जरूरत के प्रति संवेदनशील है। हमने लोगों की जरूरतों और लोगों के सपनों दोनों को पूरा करना पर ध्यान दिया है। इन 23 वर्षों में सरकार में मेरा सबसे बड़ा सिद्धांत रहा है मिनिमम गवर्नमेंट, मैक्सिमम गवर्नेंस। मैंने हमेशा ऐसा एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट करने पर जोर दिया है जो नागरिकों में एंटरप्राइज और एनर्जी दोनों को और बढ़ाएं। हम टॉप डाउन और बॉटम अप अप्रोच के साथ साथ होल ऑफ सोसाइटी अप्रोच को लेकर भी चले हैं। हमने होलिस्टिक अप्रोच पर बल दिया, पीपल्स पार्टिसिपेशन को सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता दी। हमने प्रयास किया कि कोई अभियान भले ही सरकार शुरू करे, लेकिन समय के साथ देश की जनता उसकी बागडोर खुद संभाल ले। जन भागीदारी का इसी सिद्धांत पर चलते हुए हमने भारत में अनेक बड़े ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन देखे हैं। हमारी सैनिटेशन ड्राइव हो, गर्ल एजुकेशन को बढ़ाने का अभियान हो, डिजिटल लिटरेसी हो, इनकी सफलता पीपल्स पार्टिसिपेशन से ही सुनिश्चित हुई है। साथियों, सोशल और फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन हमारी सरकार की प्राथमिकता रही है। हमने 50 करोड़ से ज्यादा ऐसे लोगों को बैंकिंग से जोड़ा जिनके पास बैंक अकाउंट नहीं था। हमने उनको जागरूक करने के लिए बड़ा अभियान चलाया। आज इसी का परिणाम है कि आज हम फिनटेक में, डिजिटल पेमेंट्स में बहुत आगे निकल गए हैं। हमने विमेन लेड डेवलपमेंट को बढ़ावा दिया है। हम भारतीय महिलाओं का आर्थिक, सामाजिक और राजनीतिक सशक्तिकरण कर रहे हैं। कुछ महीने पहले ही कानून बनाकर हमने भारत की महिलाओं को पार्लियामेंट में रिजर्वेशन भी दिया है। हम आज भारत के युवाओं के लिए नए अवसर बना रहे हैं, उसके स्किल डेवलपमेंट पर फोकस कर रहे हैं। बहुत कम समय में ही भारत दुनिया का तीसरा सबसे बड़ा स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम यानी स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम का इतना बड़ा जंप आज हम तीसरे नंबर पर पहुंच गए हैं। साथियों, सबका साथ, सबका विकास के मंत्र पर चलते हुए हम लास्ट माइल डिलीवरी और सैचुरेशन के अप्रोच पर बल दे रहे हैं। सैचुरेशन की अप्रोच यानी सरकार की योजनाओं के लाभ से कोई भी लाभार्थी छूटे नहीं, सरकार खुद उस तक पहुंचे। गवर्नेंस के इस मॉडल में भेदभाव और भ्रष्टाचार दोनों की ही गुंजाइश समाप्त हो जाती है। एक स्टडी के मुताबिक भारत ने पिछले 10 वर्षों में 250 मिलियन लोगों को गरीबी से बाहर निकाला है और उसके पीछे इस गवर्नेंस मॉडल की बड़ी भूमिका रही है। साथियों, जब सरकारें पारदर्शिता को प्राथमिकता देती हैं तो उसके नतीजे भी मिलते हैं और भारत इसका भी एक उदाहरण है। आज भारत के 130 करोड़ से ज्यादा नागरिकों के पास उनकी डिजिटल आइडेंटिटी है। लोगों की ये डिजिटल आइडेंटिटी, उनके बैंक्स, उनके मोबाइल सब इंटरकनेक्टेड है। हमने टेक्नोलॉजी की मदद से एक सिस्टम डेवलप किया है, डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर, डीबीटी। इस सिस्टम की मदद से हमने बीते 10 साल में $400 बिलियन से ज्यादा लोगों के बैंक खातों में सीधे ट्रांसफर किए हैं। ऐसा करके हमने करप्शन की बहुत बड़ी गुंजाइश को जड़ से ही समाप्त कर दिया है। हमने देश के $33 बिलियन से ज्यादा गलत हाथों में जाने से भी बचाया है। फ्रेंड्स, जहां तक क्लाइमेट चेंज की बात है तो इससे डील करने के लिए भी भारत की एक अपनी अप्रोच रही है। भारत आज सोलर, विंड, हाइड्रो के साथ साथ बायोफ्यूल्स, ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन पर भी काम कर रहा है। हमारी संस्कृति हमें सिखाती है कि प्रकृति से जितना हासिल किया है उसे लौटाने का प्रयास भी करना चाहिए। इसलिए भारत ने विश्व को एक नया मार्ग सुझाया है जिस पर चलते हुए हम पर्यावरण की बहुत मदद कर सकते हैं। ये मार्ग है मिशन लाइफ, यानी लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरनमेंट का। ये मिशन प्रो प्लेनेट पीपल का रास्ता दिखाता है। हम कार्बन क्रेडिट की अप्रोच को भी काफी समय से देख रहे हैं। अब इससे आगे बढ़कर हमें ग्रीन क्रेडिट के बारे में सोचना चाहिए। इसकी चर्चा मैंने यहां दुबई में ही COP28 के दौरान बहुत विस्तार से की थी। साथियों, जब हम फ्यूचर की तरफ देखते हैं तो हर सरकार के सामने आज अनेक प्रश्न हैं। हम अपनी नेशनल सॉवरेनिटी और इंटरनेशनल इंटरडिपेंडेंस में बैलेंस कैसे बनाएं? अपने नेशनल इंटरेस्ट के लिए काम करते हुए इंटरनेशनल रूल ऑफ लॉ के प्रति अपनी कमिटमेंट पर कायम कैसे रहे? नेशनल प्रोग्रेस का विस्तार करते हुए हम ग्लोबल गुड के लिए ज्यादा से ज्यादा कंट्रीब्यूट कैसे करें? हम अपने कल्चर और ट्रेडिशन से विजडम लेते हुए भी यूनिवर्सल वैल्यूज को समृद्ध कैसे करें। हम डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी का लाभ लेते हुए उसके नकारात्मक प्रभावों के उन प्रभावों से समाज को कैसे बचाएं। हम वैश्विक शांति के लिए प्रयास करते हुए आतंकवाद के खिलाफ कैसे मिलकर काम करें। आज जब हम अपने देश को ट्रांसफॉर्म कर रहे हैं तो क्या ग्लोबल गवर्नेंस इंस्टीट्यूशंस में भी रिफॉर्म नहीं होना चाहिए? ऐसे अनेक सवाल हमारे सामने है। इन सारे सवालों को ध्यान में रखते हुए ही हमें अपनी सरकारों को दिशा देनी है, फ्यूचर प्लानिंग करनी है। हमें मिलकर कोहेसिव, कोऑपरेटिव और कोलैबोरेटिव वर्ल्ड की वैल्यूज को प्रमोट करना होगा। हमें डेवलपिंग वर्ल्ड के कंसर्न्स और ग्लोबल डिसीजन मेकिंग में ग्लोबल साउथ की भागीदारी को प्रमोट करना होगा। हमें ग्लोबल साउथ की आवाज सुननी होगी, उनकी प्राथमिकताओं को सामने लाना होगा। हमें जरूरतमंद देशों के साथ अपने रिसोर्सेज और अपनी कैपेबिलिटीज को शेयर करना होगा। हमें एआई, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस और क्रिप्टो करेंसी, साइबर क्राइम ऐसे पैदा हो रही चुनौतियों के लिए ग्लोबल प्रोटोकॉल बनाने होंगे। हमें अपनी नेशनल सॉवरेनिटी को प्राथमिकता देते हुए इंटरनेशनल लॉ की मर्यादा भी रखनी होगी। इन्हीं भावनाओं पर चलते हुए हम न केवल सरकारों के सामने उपस्थित चुनौतियों का समाधान करेंगे, बल्कि विश्व बंधुत्व को भी मजबूती देंगे। एक विश्व बंधु के रूप में भारत इसी सोच के साथ आगे बढ़ रहा है। अपनी G20 प्रेसिडेंसी के दौरान भी हमने इसी भावना को आगे बढ़ाया। हम वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर, इसी भाव से चले। फ्रेंड्स, हम सभी के पास गवर्नेंस को लेकर अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस है। हमें न सिर्फ एक दूसरे के साथ काम करना है, बल्कि एक दूसरे से सीखना भी है। यही इस समिट का भी लक्ष्य है। यहां से निकले सॉल्यूशन दुनिया के फ्यूचर को शेप करने वाले होंगे। इसी विश्वास के साथ आप सभी को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you, the Right Honourable Narendra Modi, for this session. Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Global Government Excellence Award celebrates the exceptional efforts of governments in setting ambitious goals and pioneering initiatives in technology, sustainability, and inclusivity. As we spotlight these global practices and initiatives, we honor their significant impact on society. With this, we invite His Highness Sheikh Diab bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Chairman of the International Humanitarian and Philanthropic Council, to honor the winners. The winner in the Technological Innovation for Social Inclusion category is Serbia's SOS for the Deaf. We would like to invite Her Excellency Maha Popovic, Minister of Interior of the Republic of Serbia, to receive the award on their behalf. The winner in the Government Innovation and Public Service Excellence category is Rwanda's Imihigo Performance Contracts. We would like to invite Honorable Alfred Gasana, Minister of Interior of the Republic of Rwanda, to receive the award on their behalf. The winner in the Sustainability and Environmental Conservation category is Costa Rica's Payments for Environmental Services Program. We would like to invite His Excellency Francisco Chacon, Ambassador of Costa Rica, to receive the award on their behalf. The winner in the Digital Government Transformation category is Mongolia. We would like to invite His Excellency Uchral Niam Osor, Minister of Digital Development and Communications of Mongolia, to receive the award. The winner in the Civic engagement and community empowerment category is Brazil's Speaks Curitiba. We would like to invite His Excellency Sidney Leon Romero, the Ambassador of Brazil, to receive the award on their behalf. The winner in the Excellence in Cybersecurity and Technology Education category is Czech Republic's Junior Centrum Excellence Project. We would like to invite His Excellency Joseph Kutsky, Ambassador of the Czech Republic, to receive the award on their behalf. His Highness Sheikh Diab bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan for honoring the winners of this award.